Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Silvana. I'm a certified functional nutrition counselor, and today we're going to talk about body mass index or BMI. It's a simple height to weight ratio that has been used for decades. We're going to look at where it came from, its flaws and its limitations, and discuss better alternatives at looking at overall health. We're also going to talk about something that's very important to me, which is how BMI contributes to body image issues and even eating disorders. I've lived the stress of an eating disorder as an anorexic in 9th and 10th grade, and I really am dedicated to being a part of the conversation to changing that narrative for women. Women shouldn't define themselves based on a simple number on a scale. So let's talk about this and let's make some changes. The body mass index was created in 1830 by this guy who was a Belgian mathematician. So he set out not to devise a test to quickly diagnose obesity, which was still years away from being widely perceived as a problem, but to find the average man. His thinking went that you could take thousands of measurements, compare them, and find the ideal weight. Through calculating these samples, he found that weight typically increases in relation to the square height of a person. But there were big limitations to his experiments. For one, all the participants were Western European men, and the experiments also had nothing to do with measuring individual health. Yet, this index is still utilized today in the medical field. Let's keep going. In the 1970s, American dietitian Ansel Keys and a group of his friends promoted the index as the best available way to quickly screen for obesity. However, their study was significantly flawed, just like the original, because it didn't account for all body types. It only measured 7,426 healthy men from 12 sample groups. They included American students and professionals, Italian railway workers, men from East and West Finland, Japanese farmers and fishermen, and Bantu men from South Africa. Now, if you're going to use the BMI for the general population, it may be helpful. However, it fails short on an individual basis. The most common example given against the BMI's effectiveness is athletes. Using the BMI, most elite athletes would be classified as overweight. That's because the test does not account for the difference between muscle mass, bone density, and body fat. And an athlete that talks about this on her Instagram page is Alana Mayer. She is an Olympian and a rugby player, an Olympian, and she talks about the fact that she's been considered overweight for the majority of her life. Go check her Instagram out. She's amazing. Okay, now let's keep talking about some of the limitations of the BMI. The first one I already covered in the previous slide, but let's chat about it again. Inadequate representation of body composition. BMI does not take into account the relative proportion of bone, muscle, and fat in the body. As a result, individuals with high muscle mass and low fat may have a high BMI, leading to misclassification as overweight or obese. Again, athletes and fit individuals fall into this category. Failure to consider waist size. BMI solely relies on height and weight, completely ignoring waist size, which is considered a better indicator of obesity level and abdominal fat distribution. Waist circumference is a good indicator of visceral fat mass. Visceral adiposity has been linked to an increased risk of various health problems, including heart disease and diabetes. Lack of individual assessment. Even the creator of the BMI, whose name I am not going to try to pronounce, stated that BMI should not be used to assess fatness in individuals. Yet BMI has been widely adopted as a tool for evaluating individual weight status, leading to a potential misclassification and inappropriate interventions. I skipped one. Inaccuracy of certain populations. BMI may not accurately reflect weight status in certain populations, such as older adults and individuals with different ethnicities. The relationship between BMI and health outcomes may vary across these groups. It also does not work for use with children or adolescents who are still growing because their body composition changes throughout this period. In simplistic categorization, individuals are categorized into distinct BMI categories of underweight, ideal, and overweight, and obese, based on arbitrary cutoff points. This oversimplification fails to account for the diverse nature of body composition and health risk associated with different weight distributions. And finally, the influence of the insurance industry. The insurance industry has played a significant role in the development and perpetuation of BMI as a measure of weight status. Insurance companies have used BMI to determine premium rates, with higher rates applied to individuals with higher BMIs. This has led to suspicion that insurance industry lobbies for continued use of BMI to maintain their profits. However, this practice has been criticized for penalizing individuals with high muscle mass and low body fat who may be in good health despite having a high BMI. Interesting. Let's keep going.
Let's talk about body image and what it is. Body image is defined as the thoughts, perceptions, and attitudes, feelings, and behaviors. Okay, now let's talk about body image and what it is. Body image is defined as the thoughts, perceptions, attitudes, feelings, and behaviors around one's physical appearance. It also includes how one senses and controls their body as they move and how one physically experiences one's body. Body image is something that all of us develop early in childhood as we start to become aware of our appearances and seek to gain social acceptance, first from our caregivers, peers, and the wider society in which we live. One's culture, society, and personal belief all contribute to how one experiences and thinks about their body. Let's discuss the link between BMI and eating disorders. While there's no single cause of eating disorders, research indicates that body dissatisfaction is one of the best known contributors to the development, maintenance, and relapse of eating disorders like anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. Although body dissatisfaction is not listed as part of the diagnostic criteria for binge eating disorders, studies have found that body dissatisfaction is higher among those with binge eating disorders than those without binge eating disorders. Interesting. Next to me is the American Medical Association's commentary on the use of the body mass index. Go ahead and read that on your own, but I'm going to leave you with a few final thoughts. If we know that the BMI is a significantly outdated and flawed system to measure overall health, why are we continuing to use that in the medical system? Shouldn't we be focusing on finding a more practical form to measure overall health? One that isn't going to potentially perpetuate body image issues and even eating disorders. One that isn't going to put Olympians and athletes in the overweight category. Don't you think it's time that we look for something more practical? I certainly do, and so does Oreo. I hope you have a fantastic day and tune in next week for another topic surrounding women's wellness, one that may not be very comfortable for some of you to hear. Have a wonderful day.